Hello and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to talk about cryptocurrency, and especially we're going to talk about the taxes if you're in the UK. Now why is this important? Well, crypto's become huge, hasn't it? Look behind me, we've got all of these crypto elements going through, and people are using this as an opportunity to make some really good profits. Now, we're not advising you on which cryptocurrency to go for, and we couldn't advise you even if we wanted to. But what we can do though is make sure that from a tax point of view, you're completely covered, and making sure that you also know exactly what to expect when it comes to crypto itself. So let's deep dive into crypto and make sure that you don't get a tax issue later down the line. Let's have a look. Hello and welcome. My name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer from Intuit with a fancy new logo, that QuickBooks chap on the internet, and also head of accounts here at Boffix. Now here on this channel, Boffix Tax Tip is all about tips that are going to help you. Yes, you. Now the idea here is it's about making sure that you have information that's going to help you and your business. Now the idea is our channel is all about making sure that you and your business don't just survive but thrive. And one of those things that's going to help is if you invest money that you've got into something that's going to increase in value, then that's going to be better for everyone. Don't take this as a financial advice. This is not financial advice. We're not telling you to go and invest in crypto. But if you have, or if you're looking to, then what are the tax complications that you need to be aware of? And why now? Why are we worrying about this now? Well, the simple fact is HMRC has only just gone and produced a nice little template as to what to expect from crypto itself. HMRC are basically now getting to grips with what they want to tax on crypto and what they don't want to tax on crypto. They only released it March 21. So now's the perfect time to understand that breakdown, more importantly, to understand how it affects you. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it and find out exactly what it affects for you. So where am I getting all this information from? Well, I'm getting the information from HMRC itself through its Crypto Assets Manual. As you can see here, we have a whole list of all the different things we should be looking at, everything we could think about when it comes to crypto. What I do like about this guide though is it is going to tell you about what is crypto. And the key change here is that HMRC are now not classing crypto as any form of gambling, but they're seeing it more in the same lines of investment, stocks and shares, them sort of ideas. As you can see here, HMRC does not consider the buying and selling of crypto assets to be the same as gambling. The term gambling is not defined in the Income Tax or Corporation Tax Acts, or is the taxation of chargeable gains. So basically what we're saying here is if it was classed as gambling, we wouldn't have any tax issues. Because HMRC are not classing it as gambling, then we're going to have to consider taxation when we deal with crypto. So the key thing to understand is how is it going to affect you? Well, the way it affects you depends on what you use crypto for. Okay, let's try and put crypto down to its most basic form. The idea of crypto is that you're going to exchange cash and you're going to turn that cash into a form of cryptocurrency. That's what happens with the majority of us. So to understand what to do from a tax point of view, first of all, we need to understand what you're doing with the crypto. Let's look at the most common way of dealing with crypto, and that's buying it and then selling it, hopefully to make a profit. Let's see what those transactions are and see how that affects you from the form of tax. Well, as you can see in front of me, here's a typical scenario. The idea is we want to exchange cash and we want to exchange it for Bitcoin. Now when we exchange from cash to Bitcoin, well at that point there's no taxation issues. All we're doing is we're buying ourselves some commodity. Now in this case, the key element to think about is we're going to be buying, and it's key we understand this, we're going to buy a capital asset. And that's what HMRC want. HMRC want you to go in and understand that this is a capital asset. And it's key we understand that it's a capital asset. Why? Because the taxation on capital asset is different to the rest of items you'd expect to put on a personal tax return. Now it's key to remember here that while we're dealing with this, we're going to have to consider if we need to complete this information and put this information on a personal tax return. Because at the end of the day, that's when you are taxed on it. You don't get taxed on these transactions automatically. You'll only get taxed on them when you record them on a tax return. So the key thing is knowing that you need to put them on a tax return first. So in this case, because I've bought a capital asset, I have no issue whatsoever regarding taxes. Unlike if I was doing a tax return and I was buying and selling, say, stock, because I own some sort of online store or a store or whatever it's going to be, then when I buy that asset, I can put that as an expense against future income. But when I buy a capital asset, when I purchase the item, nothing actually happens from a tax point of view. The only time we need to consider it is the other way around. And when I mean the other way around, what I mean is when you sell the asset. So if I now sell my Bitcoin and I don't have any more and I convert it to either cash, or if I was going to convert it to something else, maybe different type of cryptocurrency or for some services or whatever it's going to be, the key point to know is I've disposed of my asset. I don't own that asset anymore. And when you don't own an asset, when you dispose of an asset, is when you've got to consider taxation. How are we taxed on capital assets? Well, let's have a look. How are we taxed on capital assets? Well, capital assets are only taxed for us on the profit we make on the disposal. So what you do is you say, what was your proceeds? And let's put some figures in here that's just going to make sense to us. Imagine I sold £10,000. Then you need to take consideration of your cost. What that gives you is your profit. And what we will class it as a capital gain. And it's this figure here where you could have taxation issues. Now, when it comes to capital taxes, it's all done by what's called capital gains tax. The good news is you get around about, and you'll have to check each individual tax year, but you get around about £12,000 as of the recording here, completely tax-free. But that's accumulation of all of your capital profits within a given tax year. Remember your tax year, 6th of April all the way to the 5th of April. So if we go back to this idea and we made 5,000 on this transaction, and that was the 5th of May, 21. And then we did a different transaction later in the year on the 9th of September, 21 for £6,000. We're still under it at this point, but then if we made a different sale, let's say the 2nd of February, 22, and that one was for £7,000, then suddenly we're over that threshold. Now the good news is you still get to have that £12,000, it doesn't disappear, and you'll only have to pay taxes on everything above that figure, but it's still something to consider. Also, the amount that you're taxed at this point depends on how much personal tax you have to pay and at what band you're in. So if you're in the basic band versus the higher rate band, depending on which taxes you're going to have. So as of time of recording, £12,300 is your capital gain tax-free allowance. Remember what I said, the tax year runs from the 6th of April to the 5th of April. And really important to know is this element here. You'll need to report and pay capital gains tax as taxable gains are above your allowance. So if your capital gains is above your allowance, that's when you need to think about paying taxes. So what tax do you have to pay? Well, you take that profit and you're either going to be paying 10% on your gains if you're a basic rate payer, or 20% if you're anything above the basic rate, so higher rate or additional. If you need any help on how to account for these, then have a look at some of our previous videos where we talk about how to account for capital gains on your personal tax return. Another option is to talk to specialists like us at Boffix where we deal with cryptocurrency all the time. Therefore, we can help you and we can actually give you services related to your exact need. And I promise you, they'll be more cost effective than you can imagine. Okay, summary then of when it really does affect you. Basically, when you're buying Bitcoin, no tax. When you sell Bitcoin, potential tax. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't end just there. There are other tax considerations you need to consider. So for example, if you're in the process of mining Bitcoin, then when you create the Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, then there is a taxable element at that point. And also if you receive Bitcoin for doing work, then you're still going to have to pay taxes on it, just like you would do if you receive pound coins instead. So what can we do to make our life easier when it comes to dealing with crypto? Well, the first thing to do is you're going to need records. If you do receive more than £12,000 in profits, the likelihood is you're going to hit those profit thresholds and you're going to have to start thinking about declaring this on a tax return. Well, if that's the case, you're going to have to think about when you bought that cryptocurrency and when you sold that cryptocurrency. You're going to have to really look into that. Also, don't forget that it's not just crypto for that £12,000. If you have stocks and shares, if you have rental property and you buy and sell those, there's various other things that can come into your capital gains allowance, not just crypto. So you need to be really careful. Capital gains is the easiest one to fall foul of because it's not like your traditional income and expenditure accounts. There's a lot more moving parts and it can be much more tricky to be able to understand exactly what it is that you need to account for. But my advice is to make sure that you've got those records. If you're using an app like Coinbase or Revolut or anything like that, highly recommend that you take detailed reports from there. That's what I've done. So for my crypto, I've been able to download detailed reports of when I've bought the crypto and then when I've sold the crypto. Because crypto is so volatile, most people are going to be buying and selling on a regular basis. Therefore, you're going to need to have some way of tracking that. Now, one of the things we've definitely thought about on this channel is how can we help? Well, QuickBooks could be your absolute saviour at this point. Now, what I'm going to do is leave the comments open below. And if you think that you're going to have benefit from being able to record these transactions using QuickBooks, let us know and we'll do a follow-up video of how you can use QuickBooks to help you with your crypto. Because I've got a feeling that there's going to be more people out there who's going to need to have that way of looking at it in a more simplified manner. So, we promise you, how can you make sure from a tax point of view that you're in a good, safe pair of hands? Well, the most important thing is to track your profits you're making. If you're making anywhere near that £12,000 mark, you might want to consider using your allowances over multiple years. For example, if you're coming up to the end of a tax year, 6th of April, and you've already sold £11,000 up to that point, ask yourself the question, if you were about to sell another load of crypto, which is going to take you over that threshold, would it be make yourself more beneficial to wait until next year? Because next year, 6th of April, you will reset all of your allowances, meaning that you can go back to that £12,000 before you have to consider taxes. And sometimes that could be a better solution for you. Also, remember it's not just crypto. If you're looking to sell a property other than your residential home, if you're looking to sell business interests, stocks or anything like that, you've really got to think about what year to sell them in. What year you sell them in could be crucial in terms of being able to put them in the right area. And another consideration is, what about if you have this Bitcoin in a business? What happens then? Well, the bad news is you don't get that £12,000. But the good news is it opens up for a whole can of opportunities in terms of being able to look at ways in which you can invest that money and ways in which you can defer any gains and all manner of stuff. Sometimes consideration from a business point of view can be beneficial. And there we have it. I mean, let's be honest, it's not a simple way of looking at it. HMRC have only just started to consider what crypto is and how crypto's affected themselves. So don't feel alarmed that you're suddenly understanding all of these extra elements. But one thing to note, with the volatility of crypto at the moment, actually making those £12,000 gains isn't unheard of. And if you're in that bracket where you've made considerably more than that £12,000, then you need to be preparing yourself for potential taxes down the line. How we deal with it at Boffix, it's all about real-time information, because real-time information is how you know you're on top of this. So consider talking to us, because at the end of the day, we want you to be able to understand what your current position is for capital gains so that you can make a decision if to sell or buy crypto is going to be right for you and your business. My name's been Aaron Patrick. Let us know below, has this video been useful for you? Is this the sort of video you want Boffix to be tackling going forward? We need you to tell us and you to guide us and how you want this channel to go going forward. At the end of the day, it's your content and we want to know that it's right for you. Remember, at Boffix, we want your businesses to not just survive but thrive. Hopefully with something like crypto, that can be a way in which you can achieve your goals. My name's been Aaron Patrick. As always, it's been a pleasure to do this video for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, help us in the algorithm, help us get this information out to as many people as we can. At the end of the day, the more people who understand the taxation implications of crypto, the better people are going to be. My name is Aaron Patrick. It's been a pleasure to do this video for you. And I'll see you in the next video.